Even spelled right. That's always exciting.
Well, if the library can't spell your name right, that's a huge.
How do you say, now how do you say your last name? Bronchinsky?
Bro.
Bro.
Ski.
Oh, Brochinsky.
It's spelled right.
Oh, here we go.
That's
There I
muted.
am.
That's muted now.
Now we are muted. I'm gonna hang out here because I think when Bob joins, I gotta accept his,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I'll hang out in this area.
And how are we doing on sound? Thanks, Erica. Good evening. If you're here for the elected officials event, it's on the second floor. Enjoy.
NAACP. Yes. They came in the elevator. Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, if you came from the Washington Avenue side, is it a sign there?
Yeah.
Right.
Not a
Never.
I'm gonna sit down. I have the, so it should show.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome. First, we're going to do the call to order. And everyone, all the trustees, would you like to go around and then present your name and that you're here, the roll call? Thank you. I'll start with myself, President Pryor here.
Is that microphone on? Can we make sure both of those are on? And you can actually pull them right to you because they're.
Ellis, Vice President for Finance.
Arlene Way, trustee.
Trustee Paige Barnum, secretary. Trustee Kirsten Brzezinski.
Trustee West has stepped away. She's here. Trustee Galls has an excused absence, as well as Trustee Robinson and Trustee Masinski. Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
Okay, we have a guest from FFAPL. Would you like to give your update, please?
If you could step up to the microphone. So we have Dre Carter, president of the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library, and David Brickman, treasurer for the Friends and Foundation of the Albany Public Library. And you're welcome to step to the podium. You'll have to speak into the mic. This is a recorded meeting. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Andrea. Is this working? Okay. I'm going first because my presentation will be very brief. So I believe it's my purpose here today to just give a statement of the financial condition of the Friends and Foundation of APL. So that's what I'm going to do. Currently, we have good cash flow and a bank balance a little over $15,000. We have known expenses that will be coming and known deposits that will be coming. And we know that we're going to be able to maintain a good working balance through the next couple of months at least. In the meantime, we have a budget for the current year. And actually just want to quickly review last year's actual revenue and expenses. So for 2023, the revenue was about $85,800 and the expenses were about $92,550, leaving approximately $7,000 shortfall, which is actually better than the year before. But in any case, one reason it was better even if it's a shortfall, is because we had great success with the Centennial Gala, as all of you I'm sure know. Something like a $50,000 gross and $32,000 net on that. Our projections for 2024 will not expect so much income from what will be our Literary Legends event as the normal annual major fundraiser. So with the normal expectation for that and other things that we know we expect in terms of revenue and expenses, projections on our 2024 budget are currently just under $70,000 revenue and about $85,000 or $86,000 expenses. So we having a problem with microphone? Oh, okay. All right, so where was I? Yeah, so about a $16,000 shortfall is what we have projected. And while that doesn't sound terrific, we also have some plans, goals, targets that we think can address the shortfall. So we don't want to minimize it. It's serious and we're taking it very seriously, but we also have some ideas and plans for how to address it. Dre may get into that. Not sure exactly. He says he will. So you'll be hearing about how we intend to try to increase 2024. And overall, I'd say we feel that we're pretty healthy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? No. Yes, question.
Do you have a fund balance?
A fund balance? Yes, as I said, well, the current balance in the bank account is $15,624. We also have about, I know I just added to it, so I'm remembering what's the number. I didn't write it down. Something like $50,000 to $60,000 invested. But all of that money that we have invested it's allocated. It's restricted funds from grants. And until we need to use those funds for the next 6 months for some of it and the whole year for the rest, we're keeping it in there and making nice interest. As everybody knows, the interest rates are terrific right now. So we've made thousands of dollars over the last year from those funds. And that's part of our budgeted revenue. So that's where we stand right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Robert.
Thank you, David.
Good evening. My name is Steve Carter, president of the Friends and Foundation. As you heard from David, we are standing this bit of we won't see this amount of revenue we had last year. So in order to prepare ourselves for that, I have undertaken some target market research to identify groups within our territory, reaching out to for more for outreach and fundraising efforts. So what you'll see in front of you are 5 groups that I've identified with a brief description of what some characteristics of that market. So the targets identified are book enthusiasts and scholars, education advocates and philanthropists, cultural institutions and libraries, online communities and social media audiences, and corporate sponsors and businesses. So the methodology we'll use to approach these groups to understand what their concerns, needs, what they are looking forward to, and what they need in order to participate more with that program. We'll be conducting surveys, interviews. We'll be using focus groups, data analysis, and good old-fashioned desk research to compile all the information we collect to put together some more detailed profiles and better target and organize our activities toward these groups to raise funds for FFAPL. A geographic focus, of course, we'll keep it around Albany, New York, and communities, specifically the communities surrounding each of the 7 branches. Time frame from now until about March is when we'd like to have some of this, most of this research complete in order to influence our efforts through the summer, fall, or for the rest of the fall. By the end, we will have a summarized presentation, a comprehensive report, including data analytics and strategic recommendations to tailor strategies for communicating, engaging, and collaborating with each of these targets. So I'd say give us a few more months. So give us a one more time, and we'll have a lot more research based on how we'll be able to approach these groups and best improve the health of our revenue for a field. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the minutes from our last. Anyone have concerns, questions regarding our minutes from the last meeting? We'll move on to the check registry.
So this is the consent agenda. The finance memo comes after the consent agenda, when they'll speak to the.
Oh, right. Well, does anyone have any concerns or questions in regards to the check registry? Okay. Capital Fund, any questions, concerns? All right. Finance memo, please. Or do we vote? We vote on the consent agenda. I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda. I made the motion. Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The finance memo, please.
Hello. The reports for this meeting cover November of 2023, which was 42% of the way through our 2024 fiscal year. The treasurer's reports have been updated to include a column for the modified budget that was approved at the meeting last month. And our support and revenue overall were in line with the modified budget, while expenditures are trending slightly under the modified budget. So I'll turn it over to Adam.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Just a couple of notes about some of the expenditure details from November. In November 2022, our national grid bills totaled almost 23,000. November 2023, by comparison, they totaled about 15.5 thousand. The total building repair and maintenance costs incurred in November, over 30,000, were higher than usual due in large part to the cement work done around the back entrance of the Washington Avenue branch, as you may have noticed. If anyone has any questions on any of the reports, be happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. Oh, treasurer's memo. Anybody have any questions, concerns on the treasurer's report? The capital fund report? Questions, concerns? Okay, and also the cash investment summary? Motion to accept the reports?
No.
All right, so moving on, is there any committees and liaison reports? Did anyone, any trustees have anything to report out?
2 things. The Upper Hudson, did not have a meeting last month, but, a message came out to everybody about Advocacy Day that they wanted us to share with all member libraries. So we're going in person once again. The date is on February 7th. We received some information about how it's going to be organized. They're asking each library to make meetings with their own representatives. Okay, they're very concerned about numbers and health issues and all of that. So that's why, we're just going to see our own representatives. But there's a sign up process, and we're all going to have a general meetup in the LOB prior to going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward the email that I received today from Tim Berg to you and to Andrea so that you all can coordinate with our libraries and our trustees, who's going to go. We got to do this sign-up process. So I'll leave it to you all, but I will forward Tim's email to you. So that's Upper Hudson. For the nominating committee, we did not meet last month as we had planned, but we did send out a memo to all of the trustees that identified groups that we have reached out before. And so we're encouraging everyone to get back to us as soon as possible. Let us know if there's any groups that might be missing that we can include, and we're going to start doing outreach to encourage people to consider running for trustee in the upcoming election.
Thank you. Thank you. Paige?
Week I had Raising Liberty Square, the Pine Hills branch. Documentary focused housing challenges due to change displacement. So I think it's a great example of how library programs speak to equity and access issues. So a very nice event with a discussion. Right, so 8 o'clock they had to pick us up. So enjoyed them. Bye.
I didn't have anything that one of the services that I'd like to discuss that Albany Public Library, Hoopla. I had the great pleasure and was just tickled pink that I was able to binge on one of my shows that I did not know that was available on Discovery of Witches, but I did not know that was available on Hoopla. So I was very happy to find that. So I was doing an audio book and happened to scroll down. And so during the winter break or holidays, I like binged on that while I was sick. So thank you. One of the things I was kind of disappointed that you only get to do 5 shows. So I have to wait till next month to get the rest of my fix in. So thanks. That was a very good alternative, and it's free, and you don't have to, if you can wait, you don't have to buy a streaming service in order to watch your favorite show. So if you have a little time, it will be coming to Hoopla.
One thing I forgot, I want to thank the library, Albany Public Library, on behalf of the Arbor Hill Development Corporation for allowing us space for Toys for Tots. We needed to have a large area where we could package toys. We distributed toys to over almost 500 families. Okay. And Albany Library gave us the opportunity to do that. So I thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
That's great. Congratulations.
Wow. Any other trustees who would like to report, or any committee liaisons reports? All right, so any upcoming committee meetings happening?
I I can't speak for trustee Masinski, but I know that the nominating committee is striving to reschedule the meeting that did not happen earlier this month. So that's probably going to be news soon.
Great. All right, we'll move along to executive director's report.
All right. I've been hearing from council about the sound in the room. So I was just kind of responding to some of the text messages about our sound quality, and it seems like it's pretty good overall. And yours is much improved from before, so great. And apparently I can be heard, so great. So I want to, we have of a lighter agenda tonight, that would be great. I want to start off by giving a shout out to the staff who were involved in the holiday related programming that happens across the library district in the month of December. We had jazz at Arbor Hill West Hill in the lobby space, which was actually a really great idea because it drew people in who weren't aware that we were even having a program. It was a great space to use in order to promote music that might not have ordinarily been heard if it had just happened in a community room space. So kudos to the staff who coordinated that. We also had the yearly Albany High School choir, and they delivered a beautiful concert. That's the picture that you see in the report. We also had a pop-up Taylor Swift birthday craft gathering, and that was a big success as well. A lot of friendship bracelets were made. On the operations side, we are in the midst of an engagement, a staff engagement survey. This is the second annual staff engagement survey that we've done. We used many of the same exact questions that we used last year, so we get a good comparison of data from last year to this year. And we're compiling that data now. I'm going to be delivering a summary of the staff engagement survey to the board at the February meeting, and it will also help inform our staff development day themes. It'll help inform some of our workforce related goals and tactics within the strategic plan. And I'm happy to say that when I wrote this report, we had 70 staff responses. And now that all of the responses are in, we have 82 responses from across staff, which is a phenomenal return and even better than last year. So I'm very grateful to the staff who took the time, the 3 to 5 minutes to fill out the survey. It really helps us with informed decision making to make the library better. I have to spend some time talking about a difficult subject, which is safety in the library. Saw a really dramatic spike in December. 55 incidents across the district, up from 30 incidents in November. And 30 of those 55 incidents took place here at Washington Avenue, largely on the first floor. 19 involved threatening conduct, either towards staff or toward other patrons. We had a stunning number of loss of library privileges letters. This is, and to just remind the board and anyone listening in the community, a loss of library privileges letter is the most extreme action we can take to respond to an incident in the library, short of, obviously summoning the police and the police actually arresting that person for a crime. Loss of library privileges is basically a 3-month ban on a patron or a 6-month ban, depending on the severity of the incident. Usually we issue maybe 1 or 2 a month, maybe 3. This past month, we issued 12. 8 of them were 6-month bans, 4 were 3-month bans. That is very disappointing and disheartening and disturbing to staff, to us, to members of the community, I'm sure, who become aware of this. Threats of violence and verbal harassment and any kind of disturbance involving profanity being yelled across the library is not acceptable and not something that we tolerate. And I fully support staff in taking action to remove patrons who are going against our behavior policy. We have had good success with our community partners in some cases that weren't an incident involving threat, but incidents involving mental health challenges or problems with individuals who may be suffering with addiction. We were able to call the mobile crisis unit from the County Department of Social Services, or excuse me, Department of Mental Health. And in a couple of instances, they responded in time. Community partnerships worked well. In the cases where police had to be summoned, the response time was generally adequate. And we are very grateful for their help in delivering a loss of library privileges letter to someone who may have been more volatile. Their patron went against our behavior policy. So we have, we're grateful for that support because staff can't do it every time. And even staff who team up, of course, have our community engagement clerks who are there to support staff in the event for a loss of library privileges letter to someone. But it's not always the case that staff feel safe doing that, especially in the case of a volatile patron, like I said. So the safety committee also met on December 20th, which was good timing because it was an opportunity to hear directly from staff about their concerns related to the incidents that took place, again, largely here in Washington Avenue, and what steps to take next. So we're considering a few different responses. One is building a little bit more of an intentional round schedule for our community engagement clerks and the potential value in that. So right now, community engagement clerks definitely move in the building and they make a point of circulating, but it's not necessarily on a regular basis. So maybe structure. The whole point is for community engagement clerks is to get to know the patrons in the building, who's coming, who's going, greeting everyone, making them feel welcome, and also, you know, that point of contact sets us up for responding to an incident later. So a rotation does make sense, and we're working with staff to develop that. We also want to meet with some of our community partners. We had an incident involving in our own voices who were tabling at Washington Avenue on the first floor, and an incident happened while they were tabling. So we have some follow-up work to do to address their concerns about being in the Washington Avenue building and in the first floor space. We want to support our community members and our community partners in helping them know how we address safety concerns that happen in the library, what our response is, how we work to keep staff safe in the building and our community partners safe. It also so happens that December is always a month when we see a spike. I'm not saying that to minimize the number of incidents that we saw in December, but it's true that in the post-pandemic era, we've seen more incidents overall anyway. We were expecting a larger spike in December, but it doesn't take away the stress and the trauma that staff experience in many of these cases. So I just wanted to add that as a sort of statistical point. We're also, as a safety committee, following up on other staff concerns that were brought to our attention and doing what we can to listen and to respond more adequately to those concerns. Not all of them are actually, but many of them are. And we continue to follow up with staff in the wake of these incidents as well. On the brighter side, we had a lot of really phenomenal programming happening throughout the month. I did mention earlier that we had a lot of great holiday programming. We also had our rescheduled 50 Years of Women in Hip Hop program at Washington Avenue in this very room. And Dr. Janelle Hobson did a phenomenal job of presenting 50 Years of Women in Hip Hop, which is a lot of content in a very short amount of time. We also, again, on the operations side, brought in Jack Rogan from the CDTA. He's the Director of Risk Management, and he did another session of active in-person de-escalation training for APL staff. We are putting all staff through this in-person training in order to better prepare staff to de-escalate situations that happen in the library space. I also had the opportunity to meet with the Armory building manager about safety concerns related to the alley between our two buildings. And you may be hearing more in the way of a proposal from the Armory for some sort of fence or barrier that they're thinking of proposing for the front of the alleyway that is between the Armory and the library. They've had a lot of instances of people camping out in the alleyway, shooting up drugs, and engaging in other activities that are unlawful in the alleyway. So there are some code concerns that relate to what that fencing might look like one day. Obviously, it's a big ticket item. And I would be bringing that proposal to the board for the consideration. Whether or not the library would have any financial stake in such a project is to be determined. I also had the pleasure of meeting with Prisoners Legal Services Director about an exhibit of artwork planned for this space in the fall. It's a long way off, but I'm already excited about it. The Prisoners Legal Services, which is a statewide organization, put out a call for art to all of the prisons in New York State, and we're looking for artwork from incarcerated persons to display in the month of October, which is also banned this month. So there's a nice parallel there, and we're really looking forward to celebrating freedom of expression from people who are incarcerated and don't otherwise have much opportunity to express their personhood. So, in Friends and Foundation news, the Friends and Foundation actually received a $1,000 Review Foundation grant to support senior transportation from Westview Housing to the Tuesday book talks that take place here at Washington Avenue. And this is kind of a bid to invite back a lot of the crowd that we lost during the pandemic. So it's a wonderful grant opportunity that FFAPL sought, and they're going to be doing several runs from Westview. So they're actually spreading the word to other senior housing in Albany so that they can, bring their residents to Westview and the residents can be transported here. The bus seats 11, so they would make a couple of runs. Anyway, it's starting up in February, and it's going to go for, I think it was, what did I say here? April. Thank you. Yes. Let's see. I do want to call out a couple of our featured January programs because one of them in particular is on MLK Day, right around the corner. And that is our community movie night, which is being co-sponsored by the NAACP, by the Red Bookshelf, and by the Wizard's Wardrobe. And that is the documentary film, The Right to Read, which we're showing on MLK Day from 6 to 8:30 at Capitol Rep. It's free, open to all. There's going to be a panel discussion following the community movie, or rather the documentary. And it is about read. It is about the importance of literacy as a right and fundamental tool in our democracy. A couple of other programs that I'm excited about. Women in the Arts program at Howe on January 18th. There are links to each of these programs right here in the ED report. We're also having a Human Trafficking Awareness Day documentary discussion on January 13th. That's also coming right up here at Washington Avenue. And I will move on to some other points in the report. Trustee Way already mentioned the partnership with Toys for Tots that we supported at North Albany, at Myers Middle Schools, and here at Washington Avenue. We continue to partner with WMHT with the monthly documentary film series at Pine Hills Branch. And Radix continues to be a wonderful partner, and they taught a fruit leather class at Howe. Boy, there's a legion of many examples of wonderful programs across our district in the branch by branch report out. I'm not going to go through all of the programs that we hosted because that would take another half hour of this meeting, but there are many exciting programs happening all the time at Albany Public Library for all ages, free, and we are happy to have released an in-color January, February program guide. So these programs hopefully will pop more than ever, and we're happy to have brought back the fully in-color guide. Finally, we hired our HR generalist. She started last week. She's doing a wonderful job.
Right.
Melanie has been working hard to train her, and is also getting to know staff, touring the branches, and settling into her office. So no one is happier that Marie is doing this, but Arena is reporting to Melanie, and Melanie and Arena together form basically our HR/staff training and development team at APL going forward. So looking forward to further supporting staff in their development and growth in alignment with our workforce goal, and just doing everything we can to improve the work culture here. I think, I was just chatting, and this is a little bit off book, but I'll share it anyway. But I was chatting with a staff member earlier today about the fact that we have this safety committee, reinstated the safety committee for, obviously important reasons. What we don't have yet is this sort of culture building, like a culture building committee, a fun committee, a committee that can be engaged in recognizing staff and celebrating staff milestones. And that's what we're looking forward to developing in the future, because that's what thriving is. We can survive and we can address safety concerns, but once we get to a certain point where we have a system for addressing safety concerns, we want to get to that point where we're actually further supporting staff in, positives, all the positives that there are to experience in the library space. So I mention it because I see it as the next important step in responding to our staff engagement survey and to our staff development plans. An important facilities update. Unfortunately, the Pine Hills elevator jack failed last month, and the elevator is going to be out until April. That means that staff are running books upstairs. We are bringing books downstairs for patrons who can't make it upstairs because they don't have the ability to make it upstairs. We are doing all of the things we need to do to maintain access to collections, do workarounds that support materials at Pine Hills, but and luckily the meeting is on the first floor, so that is not, but the elevator is going to be out as we await this repair, which involves a part that is very hard to get right now. So that's the update on facilities. And I think I'll kind of stop there and invite questions. Thanks for letting me spend a little extra time on the ED report this month.
Yes, Trustee Dallas.
Thank you. It's so rewarding to hear everything that's going on. I have two questions. Are you seeing, and I didn't really see it in the statistics, are you seeing an increase of people going to the branches for the weekend hours and programs?
We are seeing increased attendance at the programs that we're offering. We're actually working on compiling the attendance counts as a proportion of counts as part of our report out for, I know that, we need to continue to report out about the status of the new hours and what the impact has been. So we hope to have a more full report on that shortly. Melanie is to compile, again, the door count statistics and the Saturday program statistics. The way we account for statistics normally doesn't break it down to that level of Saturday programs specifically. So that's what we're working on now, because that's an important metric.
For the evaluation, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. The other thing is that it always hurts me that staff are involved in violent situations. What support do you give to the staff after they experienced it? I mean, I don't know. I couldn't just take a deep breath and then go back like nothing happened.
Well, staff always have the option, if they need to take a personal day after an event like that happens, depending on the severity of it, they can absolutely take a personal day to cope with that. They also have access to our employee assistance program, where there's so many excellent resources through that program, and it's not just lip service. Like those resources actually exist, and staff do avail themselves of EAP resources. We also have a practice in place of managers following up with the staff very shortly after the event happens. So either the branch manager, the head of branches, myself, one of us follows up. Sometimes all of us follow up, depending on the severity of the incident. And I think that staff definitely appreciate that follow-up, even if they're not quite ready to, discuss it or, process their feelings about it. It at least recognizes their response to the event. And I have to say, the response across the board, like I'm consistently impressed with the way staff manage these situations, even situations that have never come up before, involving, a specific type of threat, for example. I mean, I'm very impressed with the staff's ability to handle the situations, but it takes a toll. So
It does.
thank you for asking.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Any other questions? I just had a statement too. I concur with Trustee Dallas, what she said, that just exciting things are happening at the APL. I'm very excited about the APL FFPL coming to Westview to transport those folks back down to the main office, the main library for the book luncheon at 12. I know that was very popular, especially with the seniors at Townsend. So I'm glad it's getting expanded. So thank you.
Absolutely. The time has changed slightly to support the transport program. So the Tuesday book talks used to start at 12:30. Now they're going to be at 2.
Mhm.
That allows time for the transit.
Mhm. Great. Thank you. All right. Okay, the monthly statistics. Anyone have any questions or concerns, or did you want to expand on those, on the statistics?
Oh, I'd be happy to. And Melanie, I need to give Melanie credit for always pulling some highlights about the statistics for my report. So that's what I'm actually referring to. Our physical items circulation is still down overall from pre-pandemic, but the overall circulation is actually up from last year. So the numbers are headed in the right direction on all of the circulation fronts. Book circulation, so that's everything that's not audio and video, is up above previous years as well, as well as juvenile items at Washington, Pine Hills, Delaware, and Howe. Our district-wide door count is up 40% over last year, which is phenomenal. And obviously, the Saturday attendance is part of that. We will figure out just how much of a part of that for the next report out about hours impact. Room usage happily has hit pre-pandemic numbers. So we have actually exceeded 2017 and 18 numbers in terms of our meeting room, study room usage across the district. And that's not just library supported programs, that's all of the meeting room reservations that occur. So that's really good news. And it also shows that, people are certainly back to meeting in person and eager to do so. Tonight is a good example with the meet the elected officials NAACP program upstairs happening concurrently with this meeting.
That's good. Busy, busy, busy. 7.3 informational items. There aren't any. I think we already went over that.
There's no informational items memo this month. The informational items spot is kind of a placeholder for items that come up between the time that I share the ED report and or the agenda and the actual meeting. So this month there was nothing that rose to that level.
Great. Unfinished business, the ground rules, as you all, I passed out, the ground rules. We've actually, voted on this back in June. I can't remember the correct date, but we did vote on these. So please refer to these and we'll be referring to them during our meetings. So hopefully we can all adhere to the ground rules. Yes,
Can I make a suggestion?
sure, it's a fluid
We-
document.
With this document, to have the library's mission statement.
Yeah.
So that we remember why we're here.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
We'll add that as well. Thank you. All right, and then also to the senior tax exempt update. Bob, did you just want to give us one, or I know that it hasn't, you need a little bit more time. There isn't one, so.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of movement on this. There's a couple of questions that we need to get resolved still. So we'll be prepared to give you additional information next month.
Thank you. Okay, new business, quarterly strategically update, this strategic plan update.
So yeah, I'll turn your attention to the document that is in board docs, the document called the Q2 implementation grid for FY24. Q2, of course, because we're in the second quarter of this fiscal year, or we just completed second quarter of this fiscal year. I kind of changed up the formatting a little bit, so I want to call that out. In this implementation grid, the goals appear at the top of each page. We have 4 strategic plan goals. The objectives appear underneath the goals, and then tactics support the objectives. So that's the structure of the implementation grid. The stages of the projects include the assigned, so the staff members who are assigned to carry through that tactic, the planning stage, the implementation stage, and the measured outcome. So the text that's in bold in those columns is where we are now. So just going through this kind of one goal at a time, we have, of course, finished under that community engagement goal, the first goal, assessing and responding to the changing needs of the community. We are on the brink of, I should say, hiring and training our 2 full-time librarian ones for programs and partnerships, or adult and youth and outreach, another way of describing those positions. And later this year, we hope to hire that 1 part-time library assistant for the community engagement department. That second tactic, of course, we have followed through on our hours change, and regular weekend programs for children and adults are being offered and attended at the Saturday locations. Unfortunately, that next tactic, repurpose Washington Avenue service hours and staff time in service of community engagement and workforce goals. The hoped for measured outcome was that incidents would decrease, fostering a welcoming environment for community engagement. We are obviously coming off of a month where that was not the case, but now that the holidays are over, now that we can refocus and put our energies toward improving safety on the first floor here at Washington Avenue, we hope to turn that number around over time. However, on the bright side, regular branch staff meetings are actually happening here at Washington Avenue. The Washington Avenue branch staff, for the first time in many years, are meeting on a regular basis, and that is a wonderful thing. That next tactic, surveying the community annually to gauge community interests in current and future programming. We're designing that survey now using SurveyMonkey, and we're going to schedule that for hopefully mid-April. The programs and partnerships head and the public information officer are helping design that survey. We actually found a wonderful example in Santa Barbara, California, of all places. So we're building off of that. It's going to be simple, and it's going to be 2-pronged in terms of having an online survey component and a staff-led outreach component. Because of course, if we just put a survey out online and it's just a link that's on our website, we're only going to get people who already use the library to fill it out. So outreach is a critical component of this community program needs assessment. And in order to reach our underrepresented groups or our underserved groups of the community, we need to travel to them. We need to go outside of the building. We need to send staff to potentially do multilingual outreach and focus group events on the sites where they need to happen. And right now we're compiling the list of organizations with whom we want to engage. We're also going to be running that list past the city's neighborhoods department. Our friend Alyssa Kane, who used to be on the Friends of Foundation board, who has a lot of ties with the library, is of course the head of that department for the city, and I'll be reaching out to her for some guidance there. I'll also be sharing that list with the board so that I can draw on your expertise of the community and fill in the gaps where we need to fill them in. So you can look forward to that. And our expansion of collections for young readers in languages other than English. The materials are still coming in. We don't have them all. The next step is to work with branch managers to establish those collections and to develop a plan for sharing those collections with the community. All right, under developing, maintaining, and evaluating strategic partnerships, are going to be taking advantage of budget season to work with community programs and partnerships coordinator and PIO to develop a presentation for elected officials, for community partners. And that presentation will include the fact that we have these two new departments, essentially. Programs and partnerships is expanded, community engagement exists now. So we need to let the community know, to remind everyone that the library's makeup has changed in order to support additional outreach opportunities. And we hope to really make that shine in the coming warmer months when a lot of the community events actually happen and we get invited to attend, to participate in a series. And now with the enhanced staffing that we will have, let's do that. The second tactic under that objective, developing new relationships and or enhancing existing collections through the Leadership Capital Region program. That's the program that I'm participating in right now. I've had the pleasure of attending a number of scheduled program sessions, and I have a lot of really critical groups in Albany, organizations and nonprofits and for-profit businesses that are all engaged in supporting the community. And I'm compiling my, I'm building my network at quite a pace through this program. I'm so grateful to the board for supporting my participation in the Leadership Capital Region program. And I look forward to sharing news soon about the project that the group will be undertaking. So each year, Leadership Capital Region undertakes a community project as part of the program. And then under our evaluation and development of a volunteer program, our head of community engagement and our head of programs and partnerships are working to develop a framework for the new volunteer program using branch management. This is really a reboot of our volunteer program, so we need input across the organization about what branch managers see as the needs, where volunteers can help fill in, where volunteers can take on tasks that are not going to, we're not threatening any jobs with these volunteer roles. We are enhancing the work that our staff are already doing. So that's an important point to make. A lot of staff, rightly so. And, there is actually language in the union contract that precludes volunteers from taking on a lot of bargaining unit work. So we're mindful of that. We're going to be working with the union to develop our volunteer program. Okay, moving on to the workforce goal, page 2. I will skip the contractual increases. That is already done. Under recruitment strategies, we are in such a good position with respect to the city civil service relationship that we have. We are so grateful to the team over there for working with us on various things to enhance tactics. The one I'm most excited about, and I think I can speak for Melanie here too, is looking at the city civil service process for bringing on clerks. We're really hoping to make that clerk position a non-competitive position so that we can hire provisionally and so that it can be a training and experience exam instead of what it is now, which is an outdated exam. So that's exciting, and we're going to be keeping our eyes on that prize. A lot of reasons to be encouraged based on our response from city civil service. So that kind of combines a few of the different tactics that are. I didn't touch on the student assistant position only because we're still kind of figuring out what we want to do with that. If we want to do anything with the student assistant positions, that might also have a price tag associated with it. So that's kind of something we're still exploring. I'm going to skip down to tactic D, further develop and integrate the volunteer program into the larger workforce. That is actually a repeat of the goal that or the tactic that I just outlined in the other category. But since it crosses into both categories, I like to list it in both places because it does certainly belong in our workforce goal as well. We're also looking forward to the summer youth employment program and to looking at that curriculum or that scope of work in order to make the most of the opportunity, because it's a really great chance to support youth in the city, working in the library, getting them interested in potentially a library job, and just, you know, giving young people exposure to a really great field of work. So continuing to work on that goal for the rest of this fiscal year. And then under objective 3, developing a process to evaluate staff engagement and job satisfaction. I've already spoken about the staff engagement survey that's underway, excuse me, that's complete, that we're analyzing the results of now. We will, of course, be using the results from that survey to inform our staff development day themes. And then tactic C, again, that's a repeat of the Washington Avenue service hours and staff time and service of workforce goals, excuse me. The hours change is not only to enhance weekend program offerings, but also the Washington Avenue hours change was done for a variety of reasons. One of them was to support those regular branch staff meetings that I spoke about. So let's move on to the diversity, equity, inclusion, and access page 3. Objective 1 is to strengthen recruitment, retention, development, and training practices to ensure staff reflects the diverse community that we serve. We are working with our community partners to build that pipeline. And, you know, this is sort of like so many of these tactics speak to one another. And this is one where the workforce goal involving the city civil service team definitely complements this tactic of working with community organizations to build that pipeline. So we're not only going to be promoting civil service training to the various groups that we meet with that have access to job candidates, but also working to further develop our internship program in partnership with financial support from the Friends of Foundation. We also continue to train branch manager staff on supporting branch staff who wish to advance. So that's part of what we're engaged in as we train up branch managers to be sort of full supervisors of branches. And Gianna DiCarlo, our head of branch services, is very much invested in supporting that, as is our assistant director. And Melanie's work will continue to develop in the realm of staff training and support as we move along that goal. We are also always looking to align our current policies and procedures with DEIA values, and that is, of course, in partnership with the Policy and Governance Committee of the board, and look forward to continuing that work. I'm very excited about talking more about the Upper Hudson Library System Equity Challenge and how that will support our DEIA goals, but I am actually going to save the narrative there for the next item on the agenda, which actually speaks more about the equity challenge. But once I share with you tonight some more information about the equity challenge, you'll better see how the tactics related to the equity challenge will complement our efforts under this DEIA goal. In terms of assessing the needs of the community regarding DEIA and expanding marketing strategies to reach our underserved groups, we're still developing an evergreen marketing piece with basic information about getting a card. And we still want to keep in mind that goal of producing it in English and the top 4 other languages spoken in Albany. And we, under the next tactic, have also adopted plain language writing techniques across our community publications. Under objective 4, ensuring that programs, presenters, and materials reflect the diversity and interests of the community. Our head of programs and partnerships is actively engaged with programs committee in identifying diverse presenters, and that's, of course, all kinds of diversity. We're looking at racial diversity, we're looking at gender diversity, we're looking at LGBTQIA community and the diversity therein, how best to support community programs that speak to each of these groups in the community and invite them in. All right, finally, our sustainability goal, which is the last page 4 of the strategic plan report. Let me just speak to the goal. APL strives to ensure the public's investment is maximized through sustainability initiatives, including environmental, financial, and human capital. Under that first objective, to assess and address environmental trends and recommendations for energy efficiency, our LED lighting project, of course, as you know, is complete. We're continuing to monitor and adjust our HVAC system for maximum efficiency, and our facilities managers pretty much always engaged in doing that. That certainly belongs as a tactic. We're also working on identifying a vendor for that window tinting project. We haven't found a vendor just yet, and I'm looking at Trustee Barnum because she's on the facilities committee. She's the chair, so and she has been a champion of that project since the beginning. So we are working on it, but we have not yet been able to identify a vendor who can do that work. Objective 2 is developing that long-term financial plan that increases revenue to meet capacity needs in the most fiscally responsible manner. The finance director and I will be looking at FY23 expenses and revenue and looking at how we can pursue new sources of revenue and savings heading into fiscal 25. Of course, budget season is almost upon us, so we're going to be laser focused on that next couple of months. But you'll hear a more complete update on that tactic in the next quarterly update that you receive. Finally, foster holistic professional development of staff, interns, and volunteers through their service experience. So Melanie is working on developing an onboarding and in-person training program for all of our new hires so that all staff receive training prior to starting or close after starting. Secondly, and our last tactic on that particular objective, transition branch managers for the full supervisory roles, providing training and support as they take on direct reports and supervisory duties. So we're at the implementation part of that tactic, and the branch managers have been, learning all of the basics that they need to know in order to do staff evaluations, in order to process timesheets timesheets. So I am very grateful to the head of branch services for all of the work that she has done to bring them up to speed on sort of the nuts and bolts of being a full supervisor of branches. And at that point, stop. Are there any questions or comments about this safety grid, how we're doing so far, measured outcomes? Excuse me, Trustee Dallas.
First of all, I love the color. It's so easy to follow along and see where you're standing based on it. Whoever thought of that, that's fabulous. And bolding it, it's great. And just for the 3.5 years I've been on this board, I kept on saying languages, different languages, and I'm just filled with joy that that's going to come to fruition. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Trustee.
I have just a couple of clarifying questions because I'm just so new. Fiscal year, does that run from July 1 to June 30th?
Right.
Okay. And then and if you need to answer this question offline, that's totally fine. But I would love to hear a little bit more about the tinting of the windows at Arbor Hill. And is it just plain tinting? Is it pictures that are going to be put onto the windows that provides tinting, or what will that look like?
It's sort of like sunglasses for the windows. So it's just plain tinting, and it actually needs to happen pretty high up. Like, it's not necessarily at street level. It's higher up. The windows at Arbor Hill, West Hill, of course, are these beautiful, like, top to bottom windows. But the issue that we've had is the sun glare comes at certain times of the year. It changes throughout the course of the year, but the sun glare comes right directly to the circulation desk, and it makes it very difficult for the staff to see the screens in front of them. It also is inefficient in terms of, the heating and cooling.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee West, I just want to say that the grid and the depth of information helps us when we go to do evaluations and knowing what's happening, how it's happening, how things are being implemented and how goals are being met. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I had hoped to have a more, well, next meeting, we can have a more full report out again about the hours change, because I know that that was a question that came up at the last board meeting. We just, with the holidays and a lot of people on vacation, we just were not able to get that data together for this meeting. So I look forward to bringing that to the next meeting and having a fuller discussion about the data that we have and what we're seeing. So thank you.
You're talking about doing all of this wonderful outreach, and if there are groups and organizations that the nominating committee might want to reach out to, I'm sure you thought of that already.
Well, no, not necessarily, but I think that's all coincidence. We're going to be, compiling this list for the purpose of extending the survey to the community. There's no reason to not use that same list for trustee outreach and board developments.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on the exciting UHLS Equity Challenge.
Okay, so you have two documents in board docs related to this item. I would turn your attention to the memo first. Actually, I'm sorry, they're both memos. I would turn your attention to the Equity Challenge memo dated January 9th. And this tells you a little bit more about the Equity Challenge, which was created by the Equity Committee of Upper Hudson, of which I was a member of, I'm proud to say. We formally launched this Equity Challenge just this past Friday, so it's brand new to the whole system. The challenge identifies 8 areas of library operations where actions can be taken to make the library a more inclusive, equitable institution. So there's a link, and I would invite you to click that link and open up the challenge as I'm talking about it, because it will show you much better than I could describe through this memo what the challenge is kind of all about in terms of the 8 areas that it covers. But to begin with, the Equity Committee is asking that each participating library sign and return the memo of intention by April 5th. And the memo of intention is the other document that's included with this item as part of your meeting materials. Participating in the Equity Challenge offers us a variety of tactics that will further our DEIA strategic plan goal. And my hope is to work with staff to pretty much fold those tactics into our DEIA goal, because so many of the tactics within the Equity Challenge work to enhance all of the areas that we would be looking at anyway as a library: facilities and equipment, board development, all of the 8 categories that you see as part of this Equity Challenge in the website. I want to say a little bit more about the form and process of the challenge. It's scalable. So within each section, there's flexibility in terms of which action steps select. So we may come across a category where we've actually done most of the tactics in that category. If that's the case, terrific for us. But we'll be looking at, which ones involve money, which ones we need to budget for, which ones we don't. And as I said, folding as many into this fiscal year, what remains of this fiscal year, and looking to schedule the other tactics into the out years. So the other great thing about the challenge is that it provides participating libraries with some financial resources to do the work. So it's $500 for each section of the challenge, up to $4,000 total. And we have 3 years to complete the Equity Challenge. And just to give you a little background on the committee itself, it has its roots in the Upper Hudson Anti-Racism Task Force, which was founded in 2020. Since that time, that committee broadened its focus to help libraries strive to provide more services and ensure that libraries truly are for everyone. So when I joined the Directors Association in August 2022, shortly after I was invited to join this Equity Committee, and I jumped at the chance. I knew that it was going to be a focus because of our strategic plan. And it was already known as the equity committee at that time. So I had a really great experience working with the other committee members, came from all different libraries in the system. And I'm looking for support in signing this, this memo of intention. The memo of intention states our library intends to participate in the scalable Upper Hudson Library Upper Hudson Library System Equity Challenge. Our board has agreed to pursue change in assessing and improving equity in our library services. We recognize that while a commitment to equitable library services has no end point, this challenge and its incentives are available through December 31st, 2026. We acknowledge that our library is committing the board, director, staff to the work of deliberate, intentional equity progress in one or more areas of the equity challenge. So with that said, I invite questions. Look forward to board support for this item.
Trustee West.
This is Trustee West. I move that we participate in the UHLS Equity Challenge and sign the memorandum of intention.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Trustee Brushinsky will second.
Yes. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
That's it. All right, moving right along. All right, is there any other public comment? There's no need for executive session. Before we adjourn, I'd like to welcome, I was remiss, I didn't welcome our newest trustee, Trustee Brozinski.
So close.
Brozinski?
Brushinsky. Shin.
Shinsky.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's so much easier than it looks.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Thank you.
And
Oh.
President Pryor,
Yes.
we did formally give Trustee Prushinsky the oath of office a few weeks back, and that was filed with the Albany County Clerk, and we have received it back. So just to let everybody know, she was official 2 or 3 days after she was appointed.
Yep. So you're official. This is your first meeting. So yes, welcome. I like to, anyone like to make a motion for, to adjourn?
So
Second, any second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Shortest meeting ever. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.